All right, kids, men used to go to war. I mean, not me, because when I was 7 years old and Operation Desert Storm broke out, my mom told me that if I thought about fighting in anybody's war, she would shoot my foot off to prevent me from being accepted to the military. And not you. You're not going to let the American government, billionaires, and corporations use you to unalive foreigners for the sake of gaining access to their resources under the guise of maintaining democracy and fighting for our freedoms. How did our freedoms get over there to begin with? Anyways, yeah, lately, I've been reminded of the fact that the 92% are sitting this one out. And men used to go to war whenever I get on social media to find memes and tweets that normal people have forgotten about, just in a dismissive way. Men used to go to war. Now they complain about female video game characters not being sexy enough. Men used to go to war. Now their balls are filled with microplastics. That one feels personal. Men used to go to war, and now we apparently take pictures of them behind their backs in order to post it on Mark Zuckerberg's internet. With that said, do they remember why men used to go to war?
We're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit. Fight, fight, fight. Amen.
Nazi shit. That's why. Steve Bannon, former White House chief strategist from the previous Trump administration, gave a Nazi salute during the Conservative Political Action Committee last week. And this, of course, was not challenged by anybody in attendance that day or by anybody within the party he represents from that point on. So today we're going to talk about why it at least seems like nothing is being done about the Fourth Reich. I don't know how the numbering system works. And not to excuse the right for enabling and encouraging Nazis, but I don't expect much from them, even though they claim to dislike extremism. However, with the exception of a few, Democratic elected officials went from saying, vote blue no matter who, democracy's on the ballot, to merely telling us that so-and-so won't be remembered for being on the right side of history when, say, the 14th Amendment is being threatened.
Newsflash. That's unconstitutional.
America's silent generation slayed Nazis, but as you're about to see, this country sympathized before then. Strictly to keep this alliteration thing going, we'll focus on whether that's due to America being soft or stupid. Americans are the least rebellious people on earth, who also like to congratulate themselves on being rebellious more than anyone. I'm a renegade. My favorite people are the cops and my boss. While writing this episode, I wondered what we should do about Nazis. I didn't think Black Americans should get involved until I saw that Ye, a black man by social construct, teased the launch of a swastika coin. The rapper slash producer slash designer who sympathizes with the straight white male, thank you Olay, must have dropped or will drop an album because he was all over Elon Musk's Everything app boasting about how much he loves Mustache Man. Like that's special on Twitter anymore. I'll get back to Kanye and what role black folk play in all this later. For now, here's a quick recap of how we got here. Elon Musk gave a Sieg Heil during 45-47's most recent inauguration. He faced pushback but no fallout. His apologist said, "My heart goes out to you," with an arm position that way is normal, not, for instance, throwing his heart underhanded like a softball or overhanded like a football, or directly from his chest, no hands like a fascist Care Bear. No. His defenders prefer to pretty much admit that a Nazi salute flows through him naturally. How's that better? Meanwhile, there were others who mimicked him. You may have seen the Pennsylvania supervisor, Laura Smith, who made a TikTok where she extended her arm above waving for a taxi and below calling for a server. She was forced to resign from the Montgomery County Norristown Public Library Board of Trustees. On the other side of this, though, was Milwaukee meteorologist Sam Cuffle. She got fired after posting her thoughts about Elon's heart going out in an Instagram story. She said, "Dude Nazi saluted twice during the inauguration, along with, 'You bleeps with this and this man, I don't bleeps with you,' full stop." Featuring this meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that says, "Screw that old bitch, he's a Nazi." Conservative radio host Dan O'Connell accused her of, quote, spreading the lie that Elon Musk was giving a Nazi salute during the presidential inauguration and called her post vulgar. I can only imagine the what about the children he cried from seeing this child being indoctrinated by his mama to salute. Most notably, though, was Father Calvin Robinson, the black caramel-colored Michigan priest, had his license revoked by the Anglican Catholic Church after showing off his version of a Sieg Heil at the National Pro-Life Summit. The point is, results may vary from person to person.
Hitler, hell and the Nazis. I really don't think that he was, because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with.
That was mixed martial artist Bryce Mitchell. He fights under UFC, and when his boss, Dana White, addressed these mustache man was a good guy comments in a press conference, he was sure to not only let us know that Bryce Mitchell was stupid in general, but he thought Bryce Mitchell was stupid. White also said that the problem with the internet and social media is it gives dumb people a platform. But so does allowing Bryce to be on his fight cards every few months. He's given a chance to be seen by millions of people. That's a platform that Dana is providing for him. And that platform would only get bigger and better if Bryce were to win. However, for everyone who hates Bryce, you get a chance to hopefully see him get his ass whooped on global television, according to Dana White. And we have seen just that. Still though, why does he get to keep his job?
Does Bryce Mitchell face a punishment from the UFC for saying
That's what everybody wants to hear about punishments. Free speech. I don't have to love it. You don't have to love it. You know.
That's pretty stupid in and of itself. I personally believe that some things are unacceptable and you can get fired by a private enterprise for something you've said or written. And you know who would agree with that?
And what Miguel Torres wrote is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Is this the first time since you've been running the UFC that someone has been fired due to something they've said or written?
Probably, yeah. I think so. I'm not positive, but yeah, I would have to say yes.
Sure, people can change their ideas, values, and their minds over time. But in 2011, Dana White fired Miguel Torres for a sexual assault van tweet of his. And he should have. Stupid. To be fair, Bryce Mitchell released an apology for what he said about Hitler, came just short of admitting he was wrong despite his research, but I'll tell you what, he was right about Elon Musk.
Time will always reveal someone's true character, and if you put that man in a position of power, his true character will be revealed. And let's just put it this way, he has all the money in this country. He's the wealthiest man in the country, and he wasted on rockets, man.
As for softness, Dana White slapped his wife a few years ago. It was caught on video, and only he had the power to impose a reprimand upon himself, but didn't, of course. If that's not a microcosm of where the American political system appears to be headed, I don't know what is. Anyways, somehow along the way, the right to express any opinion in public without being silenced stopped being about getting arrested by Congress or something and started being about freedom from consequences. Going back to Nazi salutes, in 2017, Jeffrey Lord was fired by CNN for tweeting Sieg Heil to Jewish people, I think. Lord referred to himself as a First Amendment fundamentalist and called CNN's decision disappointing. Quote, "From my perspective, CNN caved on the First Amendment of all things. I disagree. I respectfully disagree." It's come to me using CNN as a positive example.
This salute trutherism is outrageous. This is the most.
Do it right now on TV.
This is the biggest
so
conspiracy.
Do it right now on TV.
It's crazy.
If you think it's normal, if you think this is a normal way to greet people, do it right now on TV. Why won't you?
That's twice. Scott Jennings knew better. I'll ask you, when did freedom of speech stop being about censorship or restraint by the government? This is one of the reasons why Elon Musk can pretend to be a free speech absolutist, get nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, not the first time a Nazi was nominated, and is deemed a genius by those he really thinks is stupid.
This might be a controversial theory, but I truly believe that Elon Musk considers the average American stupid because a lot of y'all consider him a genius. I hope that made sense in the way that I described it.
Kanye West can go from being the type of teenager to wear a "Say No to Nazis, New America" shirt to calling himself a Nazi these days. No shame. He told Puff, I'm an elder millennial, that's what we call Diddy, that he was a Fed, and then Ye tweeted "Free Puff" while only following him and his soon-to-be ex-wife on Instagram. You know, the ex-wife that Ye made expose herself at the Grammys, and the right said little to nothing about it because, titties are conservative now. This is a titty tangent. They said sex sells while Carl's Jr. put a bikini-clad skinny white girl in their Super Bowl commercial. Bring them out and put them on the glass for the male gaze at the beck and call of men, not when women are taking advantage of the freedom gained by leftists to empower themselves and profit off of their assets. No, not natural, not how women actually look, all but proving that these men only see women when they're made up or airbrushed, like in magazines. These men don't know what it's like to wake up next to a real woman, you see. These same men who used to go to war, now they watch Andrew Tate on TikTok, and Tate, a black, he's more nougat, is overtly anti-Semitic, yet top G to the GOP. I read right before recording that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis doesn't want Tate or his brother in America's wing. More of that energy, please. And by the way, Andrew Tate also threw up the Sieg Heil. I hope I didn't undermine the threat level that neo-Nazis present in these United States while trying to make it clear that the right won't fight white supremacy. Why would they? It's their voting bloc. Centrists and moderates are no help. They'll say something like, I don't like extremism on either side. Antifa, anti-fascists are just as bad as the alt-right. Therefore, it's up to leftists to resist, resolve, revolt. However, Black America, this is not our fight. Well, for some.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
But I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? Republicans have repeatedly lectured America. They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have?
Not too many Democratic elected officials are going to do anything about it either. Could most of them be learning the wrong lessons here and tell themselves to be more racist? A Nazi sympathizer is running rampant with no checks and balances, and the NRA accidentally forgot to rise up against a tyrannical government. I'm aware of the fact that I'm saying leave the fighting to white people who in turn aren't going to fight. But it says here, gesture to US history. Why would me from the past? Enabling useful idiots is a means to an end. What Twitter does, knowingly accepting, loving, and tolerating the alt-right in order to end the culture war, America did to end the Cold War. Project Paperclip and Operation Overcast were secret US intelligence programs from the end of World War II in Europe between 1945 and 1959, in which more than 1,600 immigrants from Nazi Germany and Austria became sponsored scientists, engineers, and technicians for government employment in America. These monsters were later investigated, journalists pounced, protests rang out, yet no paperclip scientist was found guilty of any crime in the United States or Germany. Only one paperclip scientist was tried for any crime.
The obituary for Dr. Theodore Benziger in the New York Times, I think, kind of sums it up. He died in 1999, and the New York Times lauds him as a good German scientist who's dedicated his life to the U.S. military. It leaves out the fact that he worked with Himmler very closely during the war and was actually on the original list of Nuremberg war crimes trials.
Got to live out the rest of his life. Years before this program, March of 1941, Captain America was punching Mustache Man in the face on the cover of Captain America Comics #1. Kind of seems like this country knew that Nazis were bad and needed to be fought. On February 20th, 1939, 2 days before George Washington's birthday, around 20,000 people attended a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. Here's our first president. In swastikas. It said that 100,000 counter-protesters, many of whom tried to break into MSG, chanted outside. At the end of the night, though, rally organizers called the German-American Bund needed police escorts and covered up their uniforms in order to get through the crowds without getting attacked. In 1935, Germany passed the racist Nuremberg laws, the Reich citizenship law, and the law for the protection of German blood and German honor. They were inspired by Jim Crow, Black America, Henry Ford was putting his brand of anti-Semitism on his own assembly line of hate-filled articles, to the delight of the Fuhrer, while August Landmesser became the lone German refusing to hail victory on June 13, 1936. Now, Americans pretend to be this man, but only when it comes to resisting Obamacare or refusing to wear a mask in public or getting vaccinated during a global pandemic. Landmesser had been a loyal Nazi, then he fell in love with a Jewish woman. He proposed to her, but was expelled from the Nazi Party when his engagement was discovered. He attempted to flee Nazi Germany and things got tragic for him, his wife, and their kids. Landmesser's wife, Irma Eckler, even gave birth to their second child while in a concentration camp. It's believed that she had later been transferred to what the Nazis called a euthanasia center in 1942, where she was murdered along with 14,000 others. After his prison sentence, Landmesser worked a few jobs before he was drafted into war in 1944. A few months later, he was declared missing in action in Croatia. And we can barely get Middle America to raise a stiff arm to push back against Sieg Heils today. Nazis have been normalized. Although, there was another Nazi salute. This time, the perpetrator stepped down as CEO of his company and apologized. Can't help but notice that all these hailed victories involved the current president or his supporters for some reason. America failed to destroy Nazis, an enemy. Need I remind you that when black people call out the hypocrisies, inconsistencies, and contradictions of America, we're told, if you don't love it, leave it. Yet, when the Confederacy left and formed its own country, attacking the United States in the process, they were welcomed back without having to change at all. Black men didn't and don't get credit for freeing themselves from slavery. Crispus Attucks, the first person killed during the American Revolution, was black. This is not our fight, but it always involves us. And we reserve the right to rest and relax. And if we happen to fight one another, as we do, then...
Because I said soft? Because I said soft, so what? I said I spell it. S-O-F capital T. Soft. Huh? How you like that? What you gonna do, Claude? What you gonna do, huh?
Oh, this is good.
Break it up! Break it up! Get off! Damn it! Shit! I'm getting ready to shoot somebody here, goddammit! I'm gonna shoot a motherfucker! Knocking me down, Ray. You know that? Fucking knocked me down in the dirt, boss.
If you haven't seen Life, the movie, Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's characters, who didn't know each other heading into sentencing, were actually working together there in order to escape after being failed by the system, as intended, and wrongfully imprisoned for life. They didn't succeed at that time, but they never gave up. They stuck with it and each other. Black people. America is both soft and stupid. Backsliding into fascism just 80 years after World War I is like failing an open book test in a room where the answers are written on the board and also being constantly read out loud over a loudspeaker. As much as we could and should sit back and watch, we can't. And we more than likely won't. Black people go to war. We gonna be all right.
Now that we're talking about it, I am kind of sick of politicians uploading videos about how they're being locked out of buildings. If there's a coup going on, coup back. What you want us to do? Write our local congressman? That's you and you being pussy.